Greetings to all of my fellow Chun warriors. Welcome back to another Sage's Dojo session, and this is your host Sage Armageddon coming to you live with another Sage's Dojo session in the foreground of Yimbu Temple. And this particular session is going to be probably a little bit shorter. This is a requested session about something very specific, and it has to do with how to utilize Chun-Li's level 2 super, as well as some of the timing when it comes to the head stomp confirms. I'm thinking that this is primarily in general because, of course, Chun-Li has head stomp confirms off of multiple routes. But obviously the level 2 super is the primary method. So I'm going to cover those things here right now. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of this thing, what I want to preface this is since this is primarily a session regarding training, I do want to remind all Chun-Li warriors, including the one that requested this too, if you are having any difficulties with practicing, always remember to return to the fundamentals if things seem like they're going sideways. A lot of the times it's very easy, like in Dragon Ball Z, Goku and Vegeta will just look for more transformations when they are running into problems on their progress as warriors. But just like one of their more recent teachers, Whis states that you guys need to focus on your base, your foundation, instead of relying on transformations. Sorry if that's not a very good explanation for those that don't know Dragon Ball, but those that do know Dragon Ball Super especially will know what I'm talking about. And the fundamentals are the base. It's the reason why you can see players like Punk or Broski, Justin Wong, like pro players pick Chun-Li and do nothing optimal yet easily get to legend rank. Is because their foundation is so strong, their fundamentals, their matchup knowledge, their anti-airing, defense, etc. Right? All that stuff is at a very high level. So it allows for them to pick characters that they're not even that familiar or not even close to optimal with and still cook with them, right? So just a reminder for everybody. Now, the most basic of fundamentals is be wary of your posture, as I mentioned in one of the previous Serenity Stance sessions. Be mindful of your posture. Make sure you're in a comfortable position that you can maintain for a long period of time. Make sure that you're holding your controller in a comfortable position because you're going to want to be able to keep your hands that way for long periods of time without switching up the way that you have your thumb on the thumbstick if you're using a PlayStation 5 pad or something. It doesn't matter what peripheral you are using. You want to try to be consistent as possible because your muscle memory relies on it heavily. The slightest shift in the way that you are holding your controller or where you're placing your index finger. Let's say you're holding a PlayStation 5 pad and you have your index finger resting on the L2 left trigger and you shift it a little bit towards the L1. That's going to have an effect on your entire muscle memory line because your thumb is going to handle movement and inputting directions for special moves and just blocking differently, and it's going to throw you off. So you want to try to be consistent, make sure you're comfortable, and don't forget those fundamentals. And something else here that I want to introduce you to is a problem that I ran into during the early parts of my journey on this game years ago. At this point, was I would practice, then go online and drop everything, and I got a lot of flack for it. People were saying you just need to practice more A, B, C, D, E, F, G whenever I voiced my frustrations. But then after I really started to investigate it, I came to realize that what it was that my training environment was different from the online environment. My training environment was this 0 frame input delay, which more or less means that you are playing in an offline environment. There's no lag. This is what pro players would do at a tournament, right? Play on the PlayStation locally with both players connected to the console or whatever, that they're playing Street Fighter on, whether it's a PC or a PlayStation, doesn't matter. There's no input delay. That has a very big impact on everything. So I would train with no input delay and then go online where there is lag of varying degrees and drop everything because I'm going to do some things here to demonstrate this. 2 frames of input delay this is around the sweet spot of where I train, 3 or 2. because that's how my environment consistently is online. Sometimes it's different. Sometimes you get a catch-up connection and it's like this, and you're really underwater. But every now and then you get, you know, not every now and then, but consistently I get a baseline 2-frame delay type of connection. So if I'm talking to you right now, I can run my combos without really needing to pay too much attention to having the to doing the inputs, because my muscle memory is autopiloting it all for me, right? So unfortunately I dropped the head stomps there, even though I'm not looking at the TV. I'm only seeing it through my peripheral because I'm looking at a wall right now. Right. So you see this stuff right here, I can pretty much do this barely without even really looking at the TV. I can barely see it, just enough to see that Ryu's getting hit. Now let's go ahead and completely turn it off, and you're gonna see me drop this, as you can see. See, it makes a huge difference. Right, it's completely throwing me off. Not as badly because I'm paying very close attention to it, but if I just let it go and just try to let my muscle memory do everything for me, I'm gonna have hiccups. You can see my command inputs there, but you don't see anything happening. Right. You see me pushing punch twice to do this into this, but nothing's happening. That's because my muscle memory has cooked. If I turn that off, I'm not gonna have any problems. See? Because I am so used to doing it this way. So make sure you have, this is in your training settings. When you pause, you scroll over to environment settings, and you go to input delay, and make sure that this is set to what you feel. You have to kind of eyeball it to get a feel for it. When you play online, go in this training room, adjust these numbers, and just feel it out, and try doing some of your combos just to test it out. And if you get that sweet spot where you're like, yeah, this feels like what I'm normally playing in, then you would keep it set to that, and you make sure that you, unless it's a very specific situation like some of the training that I do, you want to keep it consistently like set to this to match your online environment, especially for combo practice. Under no circumstances would I ever recommend changing the input delay when practicing things that require muscle memory. Only things that require reaction, but anything that requires autopiloting or muscle memory, don't want to do that. Now that we got the fundamentals out of the way when it comes to this, so let's get into the meat and potatoes like we stated. So when it comes to Chun-Li's level 2 super, which is of course this move right here, obviously it does a lot of damage. As you can see, it does about 2,440 damage, which is nothing to necessarily sneeze at. But a lot of characters, their level 2 supers more often than not are utility more than anything. And Chun-Li's case is definitely true when it comes to this. It can also go through projectiles, of course. So if your opponent is spamming projectiles and you're in the right range, go right through it, right? It doesn't go super far. I think it should go further, but it's decent enough, right? It's not terrible. If your opponent has a pattern, this is going to really be able to allow you to catch them, right? Goes through projectiles. It has a lot of corner carry. From mid-screen, you can 100% get your opponent to the corner. It's not even a question. You just do the head stomp stuff, and then boom, you're there in the corner, right? Even if they don't back row, their back's pretty much to the wall. You can't do it from full screen, but if you're like a little bit past full screen and you hit them with the super, you can get very close to from corner to corner with this. We still got a little bit of ways to go here, but if we were to go like right around here, this should get Ryu pretty close to that corner. Especially if you throw him. See, we're pretty much here. It has a lot of corner carry. More corner carry than anything else Chun-Li has. It goes through projectiles. It does a lot of damage. But it also allows for you to set up things like called safe jumps. For those that are not aware, a safe jump is a way of manipulating the game's mechanics in such a way that it allows for you to eliminate your opponent's options, specifically reversals. Now, obviously, something that super high-level players and pro players alike do in this game in order to keep their mental stack from being overloaded with how much stuff is, they play in such a way that they don't have to worry about things. And when you're on the offense against characters like Ryu or Chun-Li or Guile, for example, characters that can whip this stuff out at any time, if you know what an OD reversal is, you know that it beats pretty much anything that you do. Right? If you are pressing buttons in their face and your button is not a super, any form of attack that is not a super is going to be beat by an invincible reversal in the first few frames. Right? That is like the ultimate get off me button in fighting games. Right? Like it's Tekken has a few get off me buttons, but they're not invincible. Right? Like that is legitimately invincible, and I'll demonstrate it here for those that are not as familiar. First, I'm going to show you what happens if Ryu tries to press a normal button on wake up. We're going to have him do his fastest attack, which is a light jab. Let's get rid of this, and we're going to do a crouching light jab, right? And I'm going to do a meaty. For those that don't know, I have dojo sessions on it. I don't want this video to be too long explaining everything because we'll be here for 10 hours, right? For just to explain, a meaty is pretty much you're making it so that your opponents, they can't, if they press a button on wake up, they're going to get counter hit, right? So I'm going to do a meaty setup. And as you can see, Ryu gets counter hit. That's the fastest normal attack that he has. That means every normal attack that Ryu has will not work. The meaty completely eliminates that option from his book, so you don't even have to worry about him doing that. He has to do something else to survive that, right? That's for normals. There is counterplay. There's counterplay to almost everything in this game. But the counterplay does not involve normal buttons. Just remember that. But they can reversal, and reversals can consist of invincible OD moves and invincible supers. I'm not sure about every character. I think every character has an invincible super, but not every character has an invincible reversal. So I'm going to show you what happens if we get Ryu to do his OD Shoryuken. I'm going to do the same setup, and we're going to see what happens here. See that? He just completely stuffs what I'm doing, and the reason why that happens is because it's invincible. It's the same thing with supers. If I was to have Ryu do a super like this, instead, I'm going to do the same exact setup here so you can see it. Let me see, he's not doing it. Oh wait, he doesn't have the meter to do it. Let me go ahead and give him a little bit of bar. Apologies. Yeah, he should do it. I'm gonna lose that. Right? It's invincible. So, all that to say this, the point of a safe jump is to continue to pressure your opponent and not allow for that type of situation to happen. You just saw what happens when I tried doing my meaty setups on the ground against him, and he just completely destroyed both options that I did, right? That's how it works. If you do a safe jump setup, then you can actually keep your opponent from, from that. You can keep them from being able to use that. If they try to use options like those, you can blow them up, but I'm going to demonstrate that right here. So we're going to do a meaty setup from this level 2, and hopefully I don't drop it. If so, I'll just do it again. It's okay. See, it's going to allow you to block, and then you can do all this stuff right here and rack up a lot of damage into an optimal combo or something like that. And I actually don't have enough meter for level 3. That's why I dropped it, but that's okay. Normally, if you did have meter, if I had got him in that situation for a safe jump without using the level 2, because it is possible to do it, then I would have did this to get like 6,600 something damage, right? Which is 60%, 66% of his health bar. That's a lot. Like 2 interactions, you can slay your opponent with that. 2 or 3 interactions is all it would take. So that's one of the utilities with this, is you can get people with safe jumps, which is pretty much doing the head stomps into the punches. And then while you're in the air, what you would do is, so that you don't have to keep seeing that super over and over again, I'm going to do the same type of safe jump setup from something else. Something like this. And what you do is, it doesn't matter what button you pick. You can pick a light punch, you can pick a heavy kick, you can pick a heavy punch, you can pick her head stomp to land on your opponent. The key thing is to do this is while you are landing towards your opponent, you also, if you look at my command history, you want to also be holding down back at the same time, so that way you will block when they do the reversal. That's how, if you are not holding down back when you do it, you're still going to get hit. So you want to make sure that you are holding down back, because in the air, you can do both of these things without getting anything to mess it up. See, if you look at my inputs, and then if I do the safe jump setup again, look at my inputs. See, it allows me to block. Right? And if he doesn't do a reversal like that, he's either going to get hit or block whatever it is that I just did, which gives you insane pressure. So now, when it comes to doing the safe jumps, the logic and the thinking behind it is you apply these to characters that can mash. Almost every character has super gauge. Characters like Manon and Marissa don't have reversals that they can mash on you like Ryu, but they do have invincible supers. So you have to watch their super gauge down here. If you're fighting Manon or Marissa and they don't have any gauge down here, there's no point in doing a safe jump setup because they can't do it anyway, right? So there's not really much of a point. But if they have some bar down here, you can go for a safe jump setup in order to goad them to use their resources while still getting a lot of damage, right? And when you're fighting characters like Ryu or Ed or Ken, characters that do have invincible reversals, Chun-Li, what you would do is, if you think that your opponent is going to mash, or they have shown that they mash a lot, you can actually do the safe jump setup like we showed, and you can try to bait them to mash so that you can get a big chunk out of their health bar, right? That's pretty much one of the utilities for doing this level 2, is to get your opponent in a situation where you can bait them into doing invincible reversals if they have the drive gauge and or ability to do an OD reversal against you. So like I said, you don't want to be doing safe jumps against a Dawson player that has no drive, that has no super gauge, because there's almost no point. At that point, that's the method of thinking you want to have. At that point, you're going to try to do something else with it. Instead of doing like a safe jump setup, maybe you'll do like a meaty setup or something like that, like this. All right, dash up, everything. If he didn't do super, if Ryu pressed the button, if he did drive impact or tried to push a button or something like that, he would have gotten counter hit. Unfortunately, I did not turn off this here, but I'm gonna get him to do a crouching light punch just so that you can see what I'm talking about. And I'm always so scared that I'm going to drop these head stomps. Whoops. Let's do that again. Doing the wrong thing here. Apologies. See, you're going to get counter hit. So it's another meaty setup. That's something that's along the lines of something that you would do if you're fighting somebody that can't threaten you with a reversal at the time. All right. For whatever reason. You could also do a meaty throw there in place in order to mix your opponent up. And so if you're fighting somebody that you think they're going to try to parry you or just block, then you can try to grab them, right? So those are some cool things, utilities that you could do off of the level 2 super. Usually, now you probably want to know, how do you convert into the level super? What are the best combos to do it? Well, it's more based upon, because you can convert into her level 2 off of anything. This is her 2 light kick or crouching light kick is probably the move that the opponent, it's probably a move that the opponent recovers from the most quickly. And you can get a level 2 from this, and I'm going to demonstrate that here. Hopefully I can get the timing. See, it comboed. If it did not combo, Ryu would block it. And I'm going to demonstrate that here. Let's try doing this. See, I have it set to block first hit. The block after first hit. So this means that if your moves don't combo, they're gonna block the follow-ups. But if it does combo, they will get hit by whatever follows up. See, he was able to block that time because I didn't time it. So you can do this off of anything, any move in your arsenal. You can pretty much get this level 2 as long as it's special cancelable. There are some moves Chun-Li has that are not special cancelable. You can't cancel this or this, which are her 5 heavy punch and 5 heavy kick. They can only be canceled into Serenity Stream Stance. That's the only canceling that you can do. You can't cancel these into supers. It doesn't matter how much you mash, right? But everything that is cancelable, you can cancel into her level 2. The way you want to think about it is when you're going for a level 2, you want to think about, do I have enough damage to defeat my opponent this round and end the round and go to the next round? Or do I want the utility for the level 2? That's the way that you want to think about it. You don't want to think about it like, oh, what combo should I do the level 2 from? Because you can do them from pretty much anything, right? You could do it from something like this. You can do it from something like this. If you look at King Urameshi's live streams on YouTube, the way he plays Chun-Li in a way that he free flows with her in a way that I do. He's always doing something different. His approach is never the same one because the Chun-Li is just that type of character where there's so much nuance and so much stuff going on that trying to be strict and rigid with her approach is going to actually make things harder for you. So you just want to kind of master her to a point where you are able to get the stuff from pretty much anything that you want to get it from, right? It all depends on, as you can see, I'm just running this in a number of different ways. So it combos from pretty much anything, as you can see. You can also do it from something like this. Right. So it there are, now I forgot to preface this at the beginning, but you know, there are going to be a lot of different things that you can do when it off of the level 2 and that I'm going to not cover. There are going to be some esoteric things, but you know, if you know to the person that requested this dojo session, if there's something that I miss here that you want to know something more about, feel free to let me know. And if I don't know, I will tell you that I don't know, but I will investigate further. But these are in general going to be the most common approaches that you're going to see like solid Chun-Li players doing, right? So you can trust it in that regard. You know, there are things that you can do off of this into the level 2 and stuff like that, but I don't see a lot of, and that wasn't level 2, that was level 3. Apologies. You know, stuff like this. And this is, I'm pretty sure this is going to drop, but, you know, combos like that. But I think those are more esoteric. If they do have a very good specific purpose, I don't know what that is. But the stuff that I'm showing you is going to be very useful in general approach with Chun-Li. You don't want to complicate the character too much because she can be overwhelming. I myself am actually starting over again with this character and really trying to structure myself based around fundamentals instead of complication, because the complication, you just get lost in the sauce with this character because it just bounds infinitely because of how difficult it is to do so much stuff when you're trying to do corner setups with her stance and stuff like that. So having a good, strong, fundamental, solid, consistent game will be more important than knowing all of these different tricks. And any super high level or pro level player will tell you that. You can pretty much count on this. And one other utility that you can do with the level 2 is you can do some setups to trick your opponent. If you do a medium kick in the air, you can actually dash behind them and mix them up like that. A lot of people, I don't use this a lot, but I have seen other Chun players get people with this, and it's very funny. Because if you do this at the top of the jump, you can just, you know, and then if they somehow block that, you are still plus. So you will beat any of their normal attacks with a jab. Right? And if you do this a little bit lower, you can actually land in front of them. So this will trick people. If you show them that you end up behind them the first time, they're going to try to block the other way, and then you're going to be able to land right in front of them and then catch them with right in front of them, right? So that's another trick that you can do, right? Now, when it comes to the timing of the head stomps, that's a little bit tricky, but the head stomps, what I want you to focus on when it comes to the head stomps is that when you are going in the air like this, the general head stomps, because of the way gravity works, as you can see, when you get to the apex of the jump, and I'm gonna slow it down so that we can see. Here we go, 50%. I might drop some stuff because this is disorienting. But you see how when we reach the top of the jump arc, they fall faster than Chun-Li does? The whole point is you're trying to time it so that Chun-Li remains level with them. If you do it too fast like this, if you do the head stomps the moment you get to the top of the arc, the second heavy punch in the air is always going to miss, as you can see. So what you do is when you jump up to meet your opponent, you do one head stomp, and then right when they're level with Chun-Li, you wait like a half a second. So you do one head stomp at the top of your jump arc like this, and then you wait about like a half a second, then you do the second one. And as you can see, when I do that, they're like right when you do the second head stomp here, they are right underneath Chun-Li's left armpit, like level with her left breast. Not to be, not to be vulgar or anything like that, just as a description, right? So they're like right level with her arm and armpit there. So once you have that timing down, then you can do the double punches. And you don't want to mash these punches because it's going to make you drop it, right? That's something that I ran into too. I was notorious for going into dojo sessions and dropping these when I never dropped them online. And that's because, you're like, oh, you don't want to drop this while you're making the content for your viewers. So I would start mashing it, and the mashing actually would make it harder to do it, right? As you can see. So you want to make sure that you're hitting 2 stomps and 2 punches specific. Now, head stomps are tricky. I still drop them despite my training. I've seen other high-level players drop, Chun-Li players drop this too. I don't think I've seen a pro player drop head stomps yet, but I'm pretty sure that it has happened. In a very clutch, high-pressure situation, they've probably dropped it, right? Because it's manual timing, there's nothing like specific about it. If your timing is off just slightly, when the pressure is on, it can completely throw you off, right? So you pretty much want to do the first head stomp right at the top arc of her jump into the double punches here. Like this. And when I'm doing the punches, I just tap, but I only hit the button twice, as you can see. Head stomp, tap. And unfortunately I dropped it. Head stomp, tap. Head stomp, tap. But my timing, as we see, I have input delay. So if you don't have input delay, your timing is probably going to be a little bit different. So you're going to have to, or if you have more input delay, your timing is definitely going to be different. So you want to make sure that you are able to compensate for that. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to point out exactly what the timing is, other than to take your time and pay very close attention and just try to follow those tips. Don't mash the heavy punches. Don't do the head stomps too early. Don't do the head stomps too quickly in succession. You don't want stomp, right? You want stomp. You want there to be a nice juicy delay in between the head stomp, so that Ryu, as you can see, his head is like right underneath Chun-Li's arm. Her left arm. So you can see she's kind of like a bird. Her arms are like out on the second head stomp there. See? And you don't want him to be level. You want to be able to see Ryu's head under her arm. If you can't, as you can see here, you can't see her arm because Ryu's head is blocking it, right? It's hard to see it. But when I do this, you can clearly see that his head is like right underneath her. See? So that's pretty much going to be the timing for the head stomps. And of course, you can do the head stomps for her safe jump setups. and just corner carry in general, right? So, but yeah, that's pretty much going to be it for this dojo session. It's still a little bit longer than I was expecting, but I try to not be too quick and brief with things. I want to make sure that I'm thorough. But hopefully it's not too long. I do want to thank you all very much for attending. To the person that requested this dojo session, like I said, if something isn't making sense, please let me know, and I could try to make a more condensed session that's more to the point. Come up with a special way to try to showcase this, or come up with another solution to help you out with this. But hopefully this is helpful for you when it comes to using the level 2 super, and how you want to think about using it, and how you want to use it, and how to do the head stomps. Again, for the level 2 super, you don't want to think of it in terms of, well, what are the optimal combos to do it with so that I can get the most damage. You don't want to worry about getting the most damage with your level 2 super as much right now. Optimization is for the highest level, like near the highest levels of play, is when you're really going to be worried about that stuff. But, you know, anywhere in high level and under that is not going to be as important, right? So you don't want to focus too much on optimizing the damage. You want to think about, is this level 2 super going to help me to end the round, which does require you to optimize a little bit. But I don't want you to focus on thinking of it as it's better to use it from this combo or that combo, right? You can use this from pretty much anything that Chun-Li has that is cancelable, but you want to make sure that you are aware of, am I going to end the round and get rid of my opponent's health bar? Or if you're not trying to end the round, the only other reason you would use the level 2 is for the utility, which is to go through projectiles, to get them to the corner, or to do a specific setup to further your pressure. So that's the way you want to think about that. Now, once again, thank you very much for attending, and I hope you all have a great day. Sage Armageddon out.